Welcome back, everyone, to the Disaster Tough podcast, where we share insights into the big plays and right calls of leadership. We dive deep into the stories, lessons learned, and ideas that will help you in the field. Let's go. Welcome back to the Disaster Tough podcast. I'm your host, John Scardena. Today, it's me, myself, and I. We try to do this thing December time frame. We do a couple episodes, and then I write a blog post in January. But it's all about reflection. And so in January, I like to put up like as a blog post, like 10 things I learned as a small business owner. And I think it's applicable to emergency management. So I'll save kind of that one for January, looking back at 2024. And then I do a end of year podcast every year with Zach Boris, host of EM Weekly, great friend, great leader. And, so I'll save some of the back and forth between him and I. So what is the point of this week's episode? It is Friday, so it's not a normal recording day. As soon as I'm done recording this, I'm pushing it out there to all of you, hoping to get out to you. But I was actually getting emotional on the way over here thinking about this year. And for those who don't know, my wife had a baby, and we are very excited to introduce Lucy into our family and to see her and to play with her. And she snuggles up really, really well into my arm and passes out. And the other night, in full disclosure, I played Call of Duty for 5 hours while she was just laying there, which is super funny. But after 5 hours, I was like, oh, I got to get this girl up and feed her. I kept on thinking she's going to wake up like every 20 minutes, but never did. Just snuggled right in there. So, crazy year. Easily the most difficult year of my life, period. And I don't think you would know that based off of the amazing guests we've had on this podcast. I mean, we've had quite the incredible list of guests who've been able to come on, several of which I was like, who are these people? Because I have a team who helped me find them. And I kept on getting a trust me. And as I would meet them before the episode would air, and then, we would record, I just found every single one of them to be just absolutely phenomenal. Great leaders, great mentors, great people, great insights. And it was a great lesson for me to trust the people around me, because you hire great people and they do great things, and the world moves forward. So that'll probably be more of a January thing. But for the small group of people, especially my family, who have seen the difficult things that I've had to kind of process and go through and deal with, I have an incredible support system, and grateful for them. Some of the lessons in leadership that I've gained comes down to a single line that was just recorded with a director. I think he goes by director. He's a director, but he's also has a military title. But Travis Kaufman. It's going to come out in a few weeks. But in that recording, I wrote down a line, and it was short-term wins for a long-term loss. And we were talking about politics, and we were talking about communications. And I think it was actually after we were recording when I wrote that down. But it seems to me that in general, right now, everything feels really myopic. People have an immediate right in front of them. Everything's urgent. Everything's, important. And the worst case that I've even been guilty with is what's important, or what do I want in this moment? And when we do that, when we look at the short-term win and not think about the long-term loss, we're not very strategic, right? And we, out of anybody, as leaders, as emergency managers and emergency services, military, everybody who tunes in, we have to think about the long-term win. The L3 Harris Extreme 400p radio solves problems and is specifically designed for emergency services.
How do we know? We field tested it with medical, urban search and rescue, and collapsed and confined structures. This radio is amazingly tough. Check out the L3 Harris Extreme 400p radio at l3harris.com right now. How do you spell Doberman Emergency Management? EOP, OEP, HVA, HMP, Thyra, TTX, Drone, PDA. Whenever you need an expert, Doberman Emergency Management field experts are there for support. Contact an expert at DobermanEMG.com today.
Even if it is a short-term loss. Sometimes that short-term win can feel like, you capture lightning in a bottle, and it feels amazing and exciting and thrilling and life-changing. And you're focusing so much on catching this lightning in a bottle that you don't realize, the forest fire that you just started around you. And so we have a call as service oriented people and servant leaders to look for the long-term win. And that can mean the way that we interact with our personnel. There was an individual in my company who I had set up for really high expectations. And I could tell that they could feel the weight of those expectations. I've been guilty of that, to be honest. I'm having incredibly high expectations for the people around me, and myself included. And when those expectations are not lived up to, again, myself included, the hammer can drop. And luckily for me, despite expectations not being met and adjustments having to be made, the way that this person responded was, I want to say miraculous. That would probably be the too heavy of a weight again of an expectation. But the way that they responded was incredibly kind, and it showed a true friendship that we had developed despite some heavy information that I had to deliver. And that was again a lesson to me of, if you hire great people and you surround yourself with incredible people, then when adjustments have to be made, you can trust them. On the other hand, I lost my biggest sponsor. I've been working with a company for 4 years, and I've bent over backwards for them. And basically, what it came down to is we set them up for these incredible experiences because we legitimately and still do believe in their product. And yet their sales reps didn't want to give essentially credit to marketing, and therefore we didn't get any credit. And they ended up dropping us because they couldn't quantify the good that we were doing for them. And just this morning, I had somebody reach out asking, like, "Hey, what's that product you're trying to push again? Because it seems really cool." And I still gave them the referral because I believe in the product. And again, there's big wins and big losses, but I think as a company, if you're trying to quantify information, they were looking for a short-term win, and they just created a long-term loss because we were helping them out a whole lot. And unfortunately, I think they're about to find out. And if they're listening right now, I hope they come back. And if they don't, I wish them the best of luck. And quite frankly, no hard feelings, especially because of that staff member who taught me how to be, reminded me how to be incredibly kind, even when, again, expectations don't seem to be met. So, really, really fascinating year. Health challenges and staffing challenges and politics. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad the election year is over. The amount of phone calls I got on November 7th, so the day after the election, letting me know that their funding that had been put on hold just got approved, who had nothing to do in government sector, by the way, was fascinating. And it was a good lesson learned that I need to prep for 4 years out. So when there's another election cycle coming on, knowing that people are going to just freak out when the world seems to be going crazy over their candidate of choice. But anyways, short-term wins for a long-term loss. You can flip that, right? As I kind of called out, a few minutes ago about the long-term win for the short-term loss. You get to determine what that means, and you get to determine what that means for yourself, for others. An easy example that's not like too crazy is a little less sleep to go in the morning and work out. Long-term win, short-term loss, right? And adjusting your own personal habits, which will release endorphins, which will make you feel better, which it will improve your health, and all of a sudden you're more enjoyable to be around. Short-term loss, maybe not commenting on that post that you disagree with because you're helping out an algorithm share it to more people anyway. So maybe you shouldn't do that. But the long-term win there is that by not sharing disparaging remarks, then you can retain a persona of doing good in the world, which is ultimately what we all want because we need people to trust us in our work. Another short-term loss would be something like, sacrificing, a project for more family time, right? Long-term win, right? As of July, I drastically reduced the amount of time I was traveling because I wanted to spend more time with my kids, especially as my daughter Lucy was going to be born in a few months. And I wanted to make sure that that quality time was there because nothing replaces time, especially with children. And so, short term loss, right? Like, didn't get to go to that cool trip, but huge long term win. And honestly, it was a short term win as well. I got to be home and rest and have fun with my kids and laugh and do all the fun stuff. So, a lot of short-term losses, long-term win. As I changed over the course of this year my thought processes and decided to address things on its head. Hey, we just want to do a quick pause X to thank all of our sponsors with the Readiness Lab Podcast Network, L3 Harris, Forerunner, C. Bernie World, HQE Systems, Ampapar Response Training Center, Impulse, Doberman Emergency Management, and especially all of you who subscribe to the TRL Insider program and who are listening to this episode right now. Thank you so much for your support. Let's jump back in. And grateful for that. Yeah, so for all of you, it's kind of a shorter episode who are out there. It is Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates Christmas. What is it? Festivus for the rest of us, for everybody else. Good line from Seinfeld. But seriously, I hope that as you're going into the Christmas season, you can sacrifice just a little bit of yourself for somebody else. You might not be able to see the impact. Emergency managers, especially, rarely see the impact of their work, which does make it pretty hard. But take that moment and try to look beyond yourself. Somebody cuts you off on a road, short-term loss. Try not to use your pride to tell them why you're so angry at them, right? For the long-term win of releasing or reducing stress in the world. So I just hope that's what you can think about. I hope you can identify areas of simple sacrifices and maybe things that maybe even seem monumental sacrifices for the long-term win. Short-term wins for long-term loss are never worth it. And I think, funny enough, when we are so myopic, short-sighted, it's hard to understand that and pulling away from that. So that would be my message for you guys. I hope, again, that everything's working out in your space. If you are listening to the Zach and I episode on the last week of the year, and you see those 10 lessons in business that we'll share in January, and you want to work with us and you want to collaborate with us and you want to do cool things in the world, reach out. Contact at thereadinesslab.com, of course, but you can reach out to support at Doberman, DobermanEMG.com, and say, hey, we want to collaborate. I changed the entire business model in our third or fourth quarter. I've been playing with it for a long time, and I realized that thinking about it from the other side of the house, the emergency manager, nobody truly wants a contractor, period, but a contractor to come in, do a project, step out, and now you're left with like, okay, what do we do with this? Like, I think sometimes we say that, right? Like, can you just get us up to speed? But really what you want is another true emergency management professional to come in there and partner with you and feel like part of your team, somebody you can trust, somebody that you can come back to. And so that's kind of the model that we went to, is more of a comprehensive approach. Now on the back end, your finance admin might have to find, the UOSI grants or the other funding streams to make that happen. But short-term loss, long-term win, right? You can small incremental payments to collaborate for long-term projects, and all of a sudden your community, whatever that is, whether it's organization, university, county, whatever it may be, starts to have these long-term wins because now you're partnering with people. And we got a pretty big win with that just a couple weeks ago that we haven't announced yet. But yeah, think about those things, and think about some of the work now that can pay off for the long term. And for all you new parents out there like myself, congrats. We had a lot of onesies, baby onesies bought off our Readiness Lab website this year, which was really fun to track. And for everybody else who's been supporting the Readiness Lab and supporting the TRL Insider program that we set up, the subscription thing where we try to do a bunch of cool stuff, it means a lot, especially as a small business who are full of people who are very mission focused. So with that, we'll see you for the next one. And again, Merry Christmas. Peace.